Parent Entrepreneur Power, conversation number 144.
Parent Entrepreneur Power.
Wait, what? Entrepreneur Power!
This is the podcast for parents juggling the tough choices required for success in business while putting family first. Hi, I'm Mary Catherine Johnson, and I share the ups and downs and dirty truths of profits and potty training while chatting with successful parent entrepreneurs from all walks of life. Are you powered up? Hey there, Power Parents. Welcome to the conversation. Mary Catherine Johnson here, and I have with me today Celeste Coffman. She is the therapist behind quietmindcollective.com. And Quiet Mind, I'm telling you right now, is a theme for me right now. So I really can't wait to talk to Celeste. Hey there, Celeste. How are you?
Hey, Mary Catherine. I am doing awesome today. Thank you so much for inviting me and taking some time to chat. This is just the most fun part of my week, for sure.
Well, I'm very glad because I get to do this all week long, and it is definitely the most fun part of my life.
So lucky. That's why you go into business for yourself, right?
Yes.
So that you can do only the things you want to all day.
Well, not only, but most. We still have to do some of the cleanup stuff. Yeah. I do still clean my own toilets, so, you know, it's not all the fun stuff.
I can't get that task up. Yeah, for some reason that one stays with me.
I know, yuck. Anyway, getting off of toilets and on to parent entrepreneurship. So, you know, I introduced you as the therapist behind quietmindcollective.com, and I really want to start with your once upon a time story, and I know that will lead us to where you are right now. So give us an idea. How did you get into parenting and entrepreneurship at the same time?
That is a great question that I love. And it's kind of funny. I worked, Mary Catherine, so I'm a licensed professional counselor at this point, which is a pretty big endeavor. But I'm also a certified school counselor. And so I started my career working, I guess probably about 9 years, somewhere in there as a counselor at some colleges and at a really very large middle school. And I loved it. I never thought I would go into education, but then that kind of weaves into my story later as I realized I'm more of an infopreneur, you know, if you're familiar with that term, I'm sure you are. And so put off having children. I was really focused on, for Pete's sake, I had 1,200 middle school kids that depended on me. So I felt like I had all the children I needed.
That's right.
For a while. And then in 2011, here in North Alabama, we had, and actually throughout the state, we had a string of major tornadoes that destroyed huge swaths of our state. And my husband and I were actually trapped I was in the school, the tornado hit the school, not necessarily direct hit, but it was a near-death experience where we thought we were getting a direct hit at that moment. And I just remember thinking, it was the most bizarre thing because you hear people talk about their lives flashing before their eyes. And the thing that I thought about, Mary Catherine, was all the creativity and the business and the ideas that I had that I never pursued. And it was this moment of just this intense grief and the tornado is shaking the building and there's this suction thing going on and I'm looking at my friends' faces and I'm thinking, we're going to die here together. And I have not done these things that I wanted to do. And so right after that really kicked my butt into gear. We survived. We had no damage to our home. Luckily, our city was destroyed. So we helped, rebuild that for a few months. And then within a few months, I said, I have to get some things in my life going in a direction that I want them to go. And so that's when I started to pursue, wanting to have children and thinking about, how can I incorporate this in business? And so when my daughter was born, and that was in 2012, I realized that time was really of the essence all of a sudden, as if I didn't know that before. It just became really real. I assume you probably had that experience also with your kids where it's like, what have I been doing this whole time?
Exactly.
Yeah. And so I started my first business in this space, which was Thoughtful Journey Counseling. And I still run that today. That's a brick and mortar counseling office that I hold. And I started it in a co-working space that was in, I guess, the beginning of 2020. 2013, I sort of started that process. And it's a pretty painstaking process to become a professional therapist. You have to do 3,000 hours of therapy with another therapist actually monitoring you. And so that was a pretty laborious process. And that's why the co-working space worked great for me. We met weekly, just with my mentor. And I was honestly just hoping to cover the cost of a business, but I made a profit immediately. Wow. And the profit margins can actually be pretty high if I keep a pretty full calendar and keep my expenses low. That's kind of the ticket if you're a therapist: low expense and high return, high number of clients per week. And so I've done that for the last few years. And then just in June, I actually expanded to quietmindcollective.com. And that's a group coaching site for women with anxiety and stress. Men can join too. We have a few men. But it provides a fresh library of content each month. So you get weekly challenges, discussions, weekly videos, and it's all from me, and I'm a licensed therapist, like I said. So I feel like it's really good quality content, and I love that it allows me that teaching component, which is what I love of counseling. And so, and using Quiet Mind Collective means that I can earn some extra income from the work that I do in those wee hours of the morning or late at night, instead of being chained to an appointment book. So that's sort of where the business has gone. And then that's kind of the direction that I'm trying to morph in the future, in the next, year or maybe 18 months.
Got it. And we have to really explore this a little further because people, we think of most people that probably listen to this podcast and listen to many other podcasts and do a lot online. They look at infopreneurs or internet entrepreneurs or online courses and all those kinds of things, or affiliate marketing, as if they are in and of themselves. And there's nothing behind them in the sense of an actual personal relationship with anyone. But really, taking a brick and mortar business and bringing it online is the future, or vice versa, taking an online business and going out into the community and meeting, actually looking face to face with people. It really is bringing us back to those personal relationships, one-on-one relationships. I'm telling you, every time I meet with people, I close a new client. Every single person I meet, because it's a relationship, and I've already done all the work ahead of time with them to make sure that this appointment, this conversation we're going to have, is going to be fruitful for the two of us. Otherwise, there's no reason for us to meet. So it's wonderful that you've done that, but I need to take it back a step. We'll get there. Power Parents will get there. And I'll explain to you in a minute why we call ourselves Power Parents if you don't know yet. But tell me where the kids are. How old are your kids? How many? And how did they fit into this full counseling calendar?
Yes, I have one daughter. She's about to turn 5. So we're doing the pre-K thing this year, which has been amazing. And so she does pre-K during the day, which is beautiful. And I was a school lover, and she is a school lover. So I don't feel guilty sending her. I know the other moms, maybe some of them are crying on the first day, and we're like high-fiving each other, like, see you at home, we'll have some cool things to talk about today, And so I just have one. And, I'm thinking about the future. I work with a ton of foster kids still in one of the school counseling gigs that I still kind of do part-time. And so I'm kind of exploring too the idea of bringing maybe a teenager into our home. Since I got kind of a late start, it's nice to think like, okay, maybe I can bridge that gap a little bit, and we can come out. It sort of all comes out in the law of averages, maybe in the end.
It does. It absolutely does. Okay, good. And what's her name?
Harper.
I love it.
Thank you.
Yay. Okay. So now take us back to this whole brick and mortar. And you haven't really been doing the brick and mortar for a long time. You said, I think 2013. So we're really only talking about 3 years.
Yes.
So then bringing it online, what made you think you wanted to go online and do more group counseling sessions?
Well, it sort of comes into what the customer wants, right? A lot of therapists don't think of themselves as a salesperson, and I'm betting that probably a lot of your listeners don't necessarily think of themselves as salespeople. They think of themselves as content creators, and that's what I would call myself first and foremost. But as you mentioned a few minutes ago, it takes the relationships. You have to be a salesperson salesperson all the time as an entrepreneur. And so my clients, even though I think some of the other therapists would cringe to hear me say customers, my clients are customers. I want them to have a customer service experience from the moment they look at my website until the moment they close their file with me here. And so, Quiet Mind Collective was born out of kind of a friction point, which is that counselors are not ethically allowed to provide counseling to someone that they have what's called a dual relationship with. So a friendship with, or they know one another outside. And that's for the client's best interest. My judgment would be cloudy if my best friend came in for counseling, because I'd be like, no, I'm going to tell you what to do.
Yeah, right.
Which is totally not a therapist's job. And so, but at the same time, I had a lot of people saying, Celeste, I really want to learn from you more. I know that we went to high school together. We're involved in the church together. We take this class together, but I want more of you, and that's a great problem to have.
Right.
So I started thinking about, okay, how could I make that happen? How could I give people some of what I teach? And it's not online counseling, it's the coaching aspect, the teaching aspect. And so the beauty of the product is that if you're in with a therapist, you can actually use Quiet Mind Collective as a supplementary piece. Or if you just are deciding that you want to go the self-help route, but you want to be different from just reading a self-help book on the Barnes & Noble shelf. This is a little bit more involved in that. So kind of looking at what the customer wanted led me to say, okay, people kind of like this idea of being able to get online when it's convenient for them and get information kind of spoon-fed to them and be able to ask questions and be in a community of like-minded people. And that's the future. Like you said, people are wanting more of that. We want to do more things online. We want to do more things on our own time. And so I had to be really responsive to that. And I think that my colleagues who are not responsive to that are not going to see the success, frankly, that those of us are who are really anticipating the customer need and then moving forward.
And also, they won't be able to make the impact with their message as much.
Totally agreed.
Yeah. So take me back to the sales, because I think that's a very important point. So how do you define selling or being a salesperson? Tell me more about your definition of that.
My pleasure. So the only way that I can reconcile myself as a salesperson is to think of selling as serving. I am a pretty good salesperson. I worked at of all things, a tanning bed when I was in high school before I realized, I guess, that tanning caused cancer the way that it does. But so now I religiously self-tan instead. But I worked there and I could sell the heck out of products. And I just remember thinking, I can't believe I just let this person pay sometimes $80 for something like tanning lotion. I just didn't feel right. And so then I learned, though, when there's a product that I believe in and a service that I believe in that I know works, it becomes me saying, okay, I want to serve you. You are a customer, and I cannot wait to get you in here and provide to you the things that you're missing in the other parts of your life. So be that person who's going to listen to you and be really present, or be that person who is going to give you awesome customer service when you get crappy service at every other place that you go, not just therapists, but fast food joints or whatever.
Right.
And so the selling comes to me most naturally when I think of it instead as serving. I think about what the person in front of me has as their pain point. And then if I can solve that pain point, I want to share with them the ways that I can do that. And also, if I can't, that's the other part of my sales formula. I turn a lot of people away. And so if I feel that I can help them, I say, this is just not, I can tell that this is not going to be a good fit, not because of you, not because of me, just because of where you are or what my focus tends to be. But let me put some info into your hands about other services or other people that would work for you. So that's kind of the only way that I can make sales be okay with me, frankly.
Definitely. I agree 100%. And the only thing I would add to that is a little bit of a formula. But before that, when you mentioned the tanning lotion for $80, obviously that person felt that value was appropriate for that lotion, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't have bought it.
Totally.
But you, as the salesperson of it, didn't see that value. That's why you kind of felt bad about selling it at that price.
Right.
You didn't see the value of the $80 tanning lotion. but you totally buy into and totally believe the value of what you're selling now and the value of your vision, your service to that person. Now, Power Parents, the formula I'm talking about is exactly what Celeste said. You are serving people. So you're not a salesperson. The only part that sales plays in it is you have to ask for the money. That's all. But all the other part ahead of time is serving people. It is serving. It is asking questions. It is finding out what they need. It is seeing if what you have is what they need. And if it isn't, if you don't have what they need, then sending them somewhere else and being totally cool with that. But if it is, and you make a connection and you know that you can help this person in whatever way it is, even if it's just selling them a shirt, right? A t-shirt.
Yes.
Then you are basically bound. You have a duty to provide it. Because if you put yourself out there as someone who has something to offer, then you better darn well offer it and then ask for the money. And that's all it is. You get down to the bottom, you meet with someone and you say, okay, so this sounds like what you're looking for, right? And they say yes. And then you say, great, would you like to take care of that with PayPal or send me a check?
Visa or MasterCard, right? Yeah.
No, it's really not that difficult. But you have to see that value. There are so many other parts that go into it and so many other places that we get hung up in it. But really it comes down to, do you value what you are offering at the point of the price you are charging for it? And if you don't, then you will not find success in it in that respect. And you won't be able to raise your prices. You won't be able to find value in what you offer. But if you do, the sky, the stars, the absolute galaxy is, there is no limit. And especially with the billions of people on the planet, there's no limit to who you can actually help and help change their own lives. So Celeste, let me tell you really quickly why we call ourselves here Power Parents. And that's because in parenting, we've developed some incredible skills, right, to help this little human navigate life. Well, those exact same skills are transferable to business.
Yes.
And so when we're a parent, we already have the power to be successful entrepreneurs. So we are Power Parents. Like potty training. If you've potty trained a child, you can do anything.
Yeah. And sleep training. I firmly believe if you can figure out how to get your small person to stay in their bed, yeah, you've got power.
You got it. That's right. That's it. Okay. So take us through now. Thank you for talking about sales and thank you for bringing that up. So too many of us struggle with that. So hopefully we've got that. And I hope Power Parents, we've given you a couple of tools in there to deal with that. And okay, now let's bring it into the other issue that many of us in the audience have difficulties with. And that is how to use what we feel is limited time. I don't feel my time is limited anymore, to be honest with you. And I can talk about why, but tell me about your day. I mean, you talked about also working with foster kids and doing your full-time practice and doing quietmindcollective.com. So, and having a 5-year-old that's going to school. And I mean, lots of stuff make up your day. You do a lot in the time that you are awake. So take me through a day. Take me through a typical day.
My pleasure. I had to really think, we were chatting before we came on, that I had to sort of think about it before, because I feel a little bit like maybe I'm in a manic episode when I tell people everything that I'm doing, not to make light of a manic episode.
I know.
I sort of feel like I'm like, and then there's this, and then there's this other thing, and this other thing. So, you know this, Mary Catherine, as an entrepreneur, there's not usually a typical day. And I think that's especially true of somebody who's a therapist. I have a lot of fires to put out just because of the nature of the business. So the key, though, to that is having a plan. And so for me, I wake up before 6. This morning, I was sort of pondering in the bed, like, okay, it's 4:00. Should I get up, or am I going to be too sleepy for my, 1:30 and 2:30 if I do that? So I went ahead and got up because I was like, I need that,
Yeah.
So I try to always be up before 6. Sometimes I will get up at maybe 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to work on some things. And I wouldn't say that I necessarily recommend that, but I mean, if you're awake and you need to get that out there to be able to sleep, then okay, I go with it. So I start out my day by jotting down some ideas for content, because I find that some of those things sort of come to me in those quiet hours of the morning or as I'm sort of waking up. So I start out with that. I usually check my email, but rather than responding, I make a list of what to respond to for the day. And I already have a list actually laid out from the previous day, which I kind of bookend my day with the to-dos. But I make a list of what I need to respond to. And I have to try really hard not to get sucked into that hole of email. Because email as an entrepreneur is your best friend and your worst enemy. It's a great communication tool, but it will destroy your schedule. Mm-hmm. Because you know this, I'm sure you subscribe to a lot of different newsletters like I do. There's always another blog post to read. There's always a news headline to read, and you can fall down that tunnel really quickly. So I make a list of what I need to respond to, and I usually don't respond to it right then. I used to, but I'm getting better at doing that. So after I kind of do that, I get my family up, I get them ready for school, I get myself ready. I always take a little bit of time in the morning to use some eucalyptus oil or peppermint oil in a diffuser, and that kind of helps me focus. I have coffee on my own. I always have breakfast. I think that's really important. And then I listen to podcasts while I do my hair or my makeup. And that's how I get more ideas that I jot down during that morning time. I'm able to absorb content that helps me create better content later. During that time, I hope your parents are not going to shame me that I let cartoons run. I let cartoons run.
Nobody is going to shame here. I used to do that. Oh my gosh, Celeste, I'm so sad. I used to do, you have to do this and you have to do that. Yes. Not anymore. You know what? Let it be.
Let it be, right? And so we let cartoons run for about 30 minutes, and that's when I continue with my content or answering emails, because we're up so early. We have plenty of time to get ready and get those things done. So the next thing I do is head into work, and I listen to podcasts for more content ideas, because I really do think it's important to feed my brain before I create. So I head into work a couple of days a week. I have a contract where I work in a school system. So I travel there, and that's where I work with some of those foster kids. So that's 2 days a week. My schedule is a little bit at their mercy. I'm there sort of and have a list of boom, 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 one kid after another that I chat with. And then the other days of the week, I can set my schedule a little bit more. But during the day, during the school day when my daughter's at school, I usually start with an hour of just prime task check-off time, because that's when I'm at my freshest. And that to me is one of the important things that I want your listeners to take away, is that you need to find out when you're at your freshest, and that's when you need to do the most difficult task. So looking at your emails is not difficult. Responding to them is what is difficult. So that's when I do my phone calls, my emails, my preparations for things like the podcast that I'm on today. I usually do several of those a week. Then I see clients back to back until just past lunch. And that's because lunch makes me sleepy. So I build in my day so that I have a late lunch at 1. My father-in-law taught me that. Sometimes he even eats at 2. And that helps me stay in my prime time when I need to be really present with clients, just really, really well. I have a cup of coffee after lunch, and that helps me sort of boost in the energy that I need. And then if I have any cancellations, I always have a list ready from my calendar of what things need to be completed, or I'll just finish up the client notes. So I think that's important for your listeners as well. You need to keep a list of tasks that could be plugged in anywhere in your day. Turn a break into an opportunity. So if a client doesn't show up, that doesn't give me permission to just be on Pinterest for an hour, unless that's on my business model for the day, right?
You bet.
I get my Pinterest time later. And same thing with reading blog posts or consuming, doing podcasts or more information or doing some random webinar. I don't use my cancellations for that. I use my cancellations to check what's in my reading pane on my computer, where I keep a list of what I need to read, or to, like I said, do those notes or do some of those things that I've stored up on that to-do list. The late afternoons are when I'm really at my worst. That's when I just kind of get sleepy, and the day is catching up with me from being up so early. And so, sometimes I get sucked into tasks that I might have put off, or they just happen to occur, like if somebody returns my phone call late in the day. And so I have to deal with it. And I try to make those the light tasks in that late afternoon, since that's not my best time. Then I do the school pickup thing, and then I rest for about 30 minutes or an hour if I can. Sometimes I have to still finish client notes during that time, but I try to just be still during that time. I try to place in some self-care too, because that's what Quiet Mind Collective is all about. And, this is me admitting the struggle is real. To be able to work self-care in is really difficult. So I have to put in my calendar, those fun dinners out or, pedicure or whatever. I have to put that in weeks in advance. And so those early afternoons are when I try to do something to kind of take care of myself. We start dinner and we eat dinner kind of early because we wake up so early. And again, my daughter is usually doing something like coloring or playing with her toys. Sometimes I'll put on a Disney movie during that time because that's a hard time of day. I hear a lot of moms and dads say that right after work, everybody's tired, everybody's hungry. So we get a snack. We do what we need to do, just all sort of take care of ourselves. And then we always eat dinner as a family around the table. That's my rule. That's what I always did growing up, and I think it did great things for my self-esteem and for my work ethic and my just overall mental and emotional health. So we eat dinner as a family, and then we play until bedtime. We have a bedtime routine, and then I spend about 2 hours with my husband, just the two of us, either watching Netflix or read. I'm not great at content creation during that time. I know a lot of people do that after their kids go to bed at night, and that's just not, I'm kind of like the parrot that the cover goes over the cage, like at 8. And but that's when I do prep work for us for the next day. So I always pack our lunches. I always get our breakfast stuff completely ready to go, like fill the coffee maker up, have the cereal bowls poured. I have my to-do list ready. I know what the weather is going to be for the next day so that my clothing is laid out for my whole family. And it is, Alabama weather. If you don't like it today, just wait around till tomorrow. It'll be snowing
change,
or something. Yeah. So I have all that laid out, and I have my dinner prep items ready that evening. So, and then I go to bed early. I'm a 9 o'clock bedtime person for myself. That's what I have to have in order to be at my freshest and to wake up. So that's maybe even more specific than what you wanted to know, but I have to work that exact plan to be able to do what I do.
Yes. Power parents. I think you heard a lot about schedule in that dissertation there. I mean, and we have to be adaptable, obviously. We have to adapt to whatever's happening. Like you said, if a client cancels or if something else comes up that we have to take care of immediately, then we adapt. But we focus ourselves right back on that schedule once we get past that thing, instead of letting it derail our entire day. Yes, I agree 100%. I am the exact same way. I'm in bed usually between 9 and 10. If I'm in bed at 10, I'm going to be tired the next day. Or after 10, I'm going to be not happy because I'm up early too. And it is true. In the morning, you get your creative juices are there. You've just slept. You have a lot of ideas that worked through your brain that you processed that usually come out right in the beginning. So yes, thank you. That was not too detailed. That was perfect because it's really, we say, oh, just schedule things and then we're done. But you really have to go through some of the details of what that means sometimes. So we're big here, Celeste, on scheduling things. Don't just have a to-do list and leave it on a list and check it off. Put it on your calendar.
Yeah. I mean, I can't tell you, Mary Catherine, how many parents come to me and say that they're coming to me for anxiety, like for counseling visits, and then they'll say, I have this to-do list, and I'll say, well, okay, bring it in. And sometimes it'll be like 30 pages long, single space. And I'm thinking, no wonder you can't get anything done. This is not a schedule. This is a diary.
Yeah. And it's something you want to do for the rest of your life, probably, it sounds like. You're going to be taking that much time doing it. There's a technique, and I don't know if this would work for very many people, but it's something that's really surprised me and works for me. So I journal a lot. I write a lot in journals, and I don't do a diary and talk about what happened in the day. I'm looking forward thinking. And so I'll look at the journal and I'll write down, I have a morning routine and I'll write down the things that I'm doing. But whenever I get a new journal or a new, notebook, whatever you want to call it, at the back page, the very last page, I write down from now, by the time I get to the end of this journal, the things that I want to accomplish. So these are a little bit more longer term goals, but I don't put time limits to them. I don't say, okay, in 5 years, I'm going to do this, or in 3 months, I'm going to do this. I just say, these are the things that are on my mind that I want to do. And they might be things like, my son needs a bigger bed. Okay. Not quite yet, but, or we need to paint his bedroom or, things like that. They're things that I know we want to accomplish, some things that I might want to get or do. And I put them on the last page. And do you know, Celeste, by the time I get to the end of that notebook, most of those things have already happened.
I love that.
Even though I don't necessarily go back and review them every day,
sure.
If I just focus a little bit of time when I get that new journal, it's a fresh start. It's all exciting and blank pages, and I'm very excited about those things. I love to write. And by the time I get to the end, if I focused on that when I wrote them down, I can check most of them off.
Yeah,
but I
there's
don't
power in that.
Yeah, I don't stress myself out and look at that every day and go, oh, I've got to do that and I've got to do that.
Right.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah, Peter Voogd, Voogd. I don't know if you ever follow him, but he did a visit on another podcast that I listened to, and he was talking about something kind of similar where he laminates a page, every 6 months, and he has listed down there these are my biggest, 3 purposes. I think it's 3. These are my biggest 3 purposes, and these are the big compelling reasons why I want to get to this. And he just has it sitting up in his office. I think he reads it, probably every day, but there's something really powerful about putting those things on paper. I think it's, almost subliminal or subconscious that it's in the back of your mind. It's on that back page of that journal. And then once you have a map of the destination where you're going, all of your action directs you to that rather than just being completely unfocused.
Exactly. Because if we just keep it in our minds and just keep thinking about it, I learned this a long time ago. My mind is just too crazy to do that. Yes. To keep something in there and keep, because I would become obsessive. Oh, I've got to do this. I've got to do this. And I had to keep it over and over again in order to remind myself until I finally went, nope, I got to write it down. And then it gets out of my head because your mind is the expanse of the universe. I mean, it really is, there is no limit to what you can think about. So you really, if you write it down, not only do you make it a little more concrete, but you also then, the act of thinking and writing, that takes a different part of your brain.
Yes.
Rather than just thought processes. So it takes that next baby step towards solidifying it. And that's how we get anywhere, is baby steps.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Wow. Okay. So now one more question that I have, and especially from your profession, what do you think makes, if you think this is, and I'm sorry to have to, kind of throw this out of left field, but it just came to me as you were talking. Okay. So as a therapist and understanding a little bit more about our processes and how we do things, why do you think, or do you think first, that parents can make really good entrepreneurs?
I think all types of people make really good entrepreneurs. I think from my perspective and from what I know about people, parents begin to have sort of a feeling of a legacy. When you create a person, you begin to think about what kind of world that person is going to live in. And you begin to think about how you want that person, that child of yours, to perceive you, and the things that you want for them. And people can go really wrong with this. They can project that onto their kids and say, I wanted to be a writer, and so I'm going to force you, to take these enrichment courses or make you journal every day or whatever, right? So that's kind of the wrong way, I guess, to go about it. But I think that when we think about that legacy and we think this is what I want to do or wanted to do or want to still do, we look forward, and that helps us as entrepreneurs take more action, understanding that what that legacy is. And I know I would not have been the entrepreneur that I am had I not had a child. It gave me a sense of urgency. It gave me a sense of legacy, a sense of purpose. It gave me I was talking with my coach just a couple of weeks ago, and she was talking about how when she was pregnant, all of a sudden there was this hard deadline, and she knew she had to be like, I've got 9 months and I have to get this deadline to do this project she was doing. And we were talking about how kids put us up against those deadlines a lot. Where it's like, okay, my kid is going to wake up at 7.
Right.
I have to do something before then. Or, school is going to be out in 2 weeks and we have to do that. So there's that urgency, there's that legacy, and then just that, I I think trying to put into the world, being that change in the world that you want for your kids. You find some power in that. I think that's my best guess.
Thank you for that. What I hear you saying is we have to think of others other than ourselves.
Yeah.
And when we get out of ourselves and we look at the impact we have on our children and the world for our children, that's when we can really do the most good.
Definitely. Because if you're going into entrepreneurship and you're saying, it's about me, me, me. I'm an entrepreneur because I want a flexible schedule, because I want to do only the things I want to do, because I want to spend my whole day doing things that are fun. You're probably not going to succeed unless those things just happen to coincide with what your customer and your ideal client need, right?
Right.
Luckily mine sort of fall in line pretty well.
Yeah, right.
What people want, is what I have, which is awesome. But you can't bang your head against the wall as an entrepreneur and say, geez, I wanted to sell these widgets and I need to sell 10,000 of them this week so that I can take a Caribbean vacation and nobody wants to buy them. And what's wrong with my customer?
Right.
That's you
Right.
as an entrepreneur. That's your baggage.
That's right. Yes, thank you so much. So with that in mind, because there are many people in the audience and obviously they're all parents and they all have that feeling. I don't care who you are as a parent, we want the best for our children. Mm-hmm. So with that in mind, if there's that person sitting out there going, yes, I agree. Yes, it's beyond me. Yes, I want to create this life and I want to do good and do better things, do good things, do better things for my kids, for the world, for my clients. But there's still they've got that pull that's pulling them back into their comfortable life instead of allowing them to flex their wings and decide to take this risk, because no matter what, it's a risk. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give that person who really wants to do it, but they're not quite sure, or they've just started and they hit a roadblock, and so they're thinking, oh man, maybe I shouldn't do this. They're still indecisive and they're still contemplating. They want it, but they're just not quite there. What advice would you give that person?
Well, Mary Catherine, that's the story of every single person who ever walks into my office. 99% of people who see me, I think they know exactly what they want. They just lack the courage to do it. And they need someone to walk alongside them and say, okay, this is how you start. Or let's talk about, I used to say that I was terribly indecisive. I remember telling a therapist that I was terribly indecisive and I was having this horrendous difficulty making this decision. And she said, Celeste, I have to kind of call you on that. You don't have trouble making the decision. You have trouble committing to the uncertainty. And so that was like a light bulb moment that I love to say now, no, I'm great at making decisions. It's a follow through maybe I struggle with. So I would say to the audience, one is fail small. Failing small, I think, is really important. That's a practical step. Don't go out and put your life savings on the line and quit your job tomorrow. You need to fail small. So that means whatever that means, right? For me, when I started Quiet Mind Collective, that meant, okay, I didn't go out and hire a virtual assistant and create thousands of hours of content and spend tens of thousands of dollars on the most expensive software out there. I started small with what I had. So that way, if I fail small versus, failing huge. So that's one. Two is just have the people in your life that are the right people. If you want to do something, you need to find other people who are going to stretch you just a little bit, who are doing those things. You're going to be the sum of the people that you hang around with. And so if you're just with a lot of people who never take a risk, never have any good success, then maybe that's probably what's going to happen with you. So surround yourself with those people and just start. I mean, if that's what you want to do, the only way you're going to know is if you try it out. That's the way that I knew that I absolutely did not want to be a nurse, was that I went and shadowed a nurse at the hospital and I fainted dead away. And I was like, this sucks. I do not want to be a nurse. So try it out.
Yes.
I mean, shadow somebody who does the work that you want to do. Follow them, test it out. You say in your mind, okay, yes, I've decided I want to create this course. And then just test it out, see how it works, get online and try out that tech tool or whatever. I can't emphasize enough though, the small steps. As long as you're taking some steps, just the small steps really are what get you there in the end.
Yes, baby steps. We talk about them all the time because our kids did not, they are not gazelles. They didn't drop and start running.
Yes.
They are babies and they have to take baby steps. Yes. Fantastic. Celeste, that was wonderful. I love the way you laid that out and the urgency and the baby steps. And it's so amazing to me that everything that happens to us in life, the things we face, are so applicable to every other part of our lives. When we learn that lesson, we internalize it and apply it everywhere. So, wow. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I really, really do appreciate you being open to chatting with us and sharing your expertise and your experience and your story, your background, and some of the really cool nuggets that you've dropped here. We will definitely pick them up and work them into our lives. And I can't wait to have you back and maybe see what else you're doing in Quiet Mind Collective.
Thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure, Mary Catherine. And, I want to just let you know and your audience know if they are interested in trying it out, just, for being a listener, if they're interested in checking out Quiet Mind Collective, I've created a coupon code where your listeners can try it out for 30 days for just $1. Work in a little self-care or maybe just watch and see how I'm doing things. And so if they visit quietmindcollective.com, that coupon code is $1 Boss Mom. You spell out one, O-N-E. So they can try that, and if they want to try the product and just learn a little bit more about me and sort of see what I've done there, it would be an honor for me to have those folks in the audience check it out. And this has been just an absolute pleasure. I can't thank you enough and tell you how much this has recharged my batteries for the afternoon.
Okay, Power Parents, I hope you liked that chat with Celeste. I certainly did. And if you want any of the links that she mentioned, the link to the coupon code, if you want to try out her mastermind, just go to the show notes page. You know where to find it, right? parententrepreneurssuccess.com/PEP144. I seriously hope Quiet Mind is what you're looking for, because I'm headed that direction myself. And I have just started something called My 3 Freedoms. You can check it out at my3freedoms.com, and that could be either the number 3 or the spelling of the word 3. Either way, you can get there and help me find my 3 freedoms and contribute to yours as well. What are those 3 freedoms? Well, to me, it starts with mental freedom, and Quiet Mind is it. It's being able to get control of my own emotions, my own head. And then that leads into the physical and the financial freedom. I have found so far that I can't have physical and financial freedom unless I have a quiet mind, unless I have mental freedom. So if you're interested, check out my3freedoms.com. It's just a passion project for me, really. Something I'm having a blast checking out and investigating. I'm not an expert in this area by any stretch of the imagination. I'm totally human, but that's what I'm trying to investigate. And I would love for you to go on this ride with me if you are investigating it too. All right, you know what I'm going to say. Enjoy the journey. To get powered up for your day, just go to parententrepreneur.power.com and listen to any one of the over 100 episodes we've had so far with amazing entrepreneurs just like you. It might just help you feel like a grown-up again.